Owning venomous snakes is dangerous. So what if you want something that looks like a venomous snake but can't actually kill you? Today, we're going to go over the top 5 venomous snakes and their substitutes that look the same but can't kill you the same. My name's Adam, this is Diamond, you're watching Wickens Wicked Reptiles, stick around. Just to be clear before we start, I'm not saying you shouldn't own venomous snakes. I'm saying that most people shouldn't own venomous snakes, and finding a substitute that isn't actually venomous or isn't venomous enough to kill you is a better option for most of us. But with that, it's a free country. Hopefully you live in a free country, and you do whatever you want. Don't listen to some bald guy behind a camera. Let's just start it off. Number 5. Coral snakes. Now there's a bunch of different versions of coral snakes. The ones in North America, these are North America's elapid. I think it's the only elapid that is in North America. Feel free to correct me in the comments section. Elapids are just a group of snakes, type of venomous snakes. All of them are venomous. So with coral snakes, they have a different type of venom than most things in North America, which makes them especially tricky. Well, first of all, most coral snakes are nearly impossible to keep in captivity. They're very difficult to keep as healthy captives. But also, if you found one wild caught or something that was raised and hatched, it doesn't matter. If they bite you, it's going to be a bad day. They don't have the same type of venom and therefore not the same type of antivenin. Yeah, I said antivenin. That is the correct way to say it, believe it or not, as most species that might bite you in North America. So I don't recommend keeping these as a pet for 1,000,001 reasons, but what you could keep that looks very similar are different types of king snakes, especially milk snakes or scarlet king snakes. Now, the reason I'm being so broad here is because there are tons of types of milk snakes, and all milk snakes are king snakes, but not all king snakes are milk snakes. This is kind of confusing, but not really. There's actually a phrase that I think originated in the southern US, probably, that kind of tells you if it's a coral snake or a milk snake. Something along the lines of red touches black, venom lack, red touches yellow, you're a dead fellow, or something along this, black touches yellow. Anyway, the reason I don't know this is because I don't care, because it's not necessarily true. There are coral snakes that deviate, and there are non-venomous versions of milk snakes and king snakes that deviate too. So don't use this as an if you're in Florida, for example, and you see something on the ground, this is where you'd find things like scarlet king snakes, and you'd find things like coral snakes. Don't pick it up unless you know what it is. And don't go by that stupid rhyme, because it's not always right. You might get bit and it's gonna be a bad day. It's gonna be like a super bad day. Coral snakes are bad pets, but milk snakes and king snakes, in the most part, are amazing pets. Especially things like, say, Pueblan milk snakes or scarlet king snakes, or it doesn't matter. There's a bunch of different types of milk snakes that are great and look almost identical to a coral snake. And they live a lot longer in captivity and are easier to keep. And they all eat very well, so they're pretty awesome. King snakes and milk snakes are great pets. Number 4, and one of the very few venomous snakes I can find in basically my own backyard, Massassauga Rattle Snakes. Now, you can find these all over parts of the US and some parts of Canada. In fact, there's a place not too far from here that you can find them. But as far as I know, nobody in the last 10 years in my region has been bit by one, because they are rare, first of all, but also they're very shy and very unlikely to bite. Most snakes that have venom, aside from certain species, are much more likely to run away from you. That whole thing about a cottonmouth chasing your uncle's cousin's dog's friend into the river and swam across and got in a boat and canoed with it, like, that's not a real thing. The snakes don't chase you, basically ever. And a Massassauga rattlesnake is definitely no different. Massassauga rattlesnakes are going to stay far away from you, and if you can find one, it's a great day, because they're very difficult to find. And they do have a very cool pattern which kind of blends them into the surroundings, the leaf litter, things like that. So most people who get bit by them, which by the way is less than 1 or 2 people per year from the stat that I saw.
How did it happen? Did you not see it? Were you f***ing with it?
Is because you step on it and they bite you. So it's an accident nearly every single time. It's either an accident or you being stupid picking one up. Don't do that. You're not cool on TikTok if you handle venomous snakes. Instead, what you should get, which is technically venomous, Western hognose snakes. Now, when I say technically venomous, I mean rear fang venomous, and something that is not going to kill you. There are people who have allergic reactions to their bite, which are rare, which might balloon your hand up, be itchy, that sort of thing. But most people, nothing happens. They're relatively safe, and I think they're amazing pets. And they look very similar. If you look at a normal hognose snake, it looks very similar to a Massassauga rattlesnake. And in parts of the world, they actually cross over in terms of their geographic range. So in parts of Texas, for example, you can find Massassauga rattlesnakes, and you can find a whole bunch of different types of westerns, Mexicans and Dusties, and Western hognose used to incorporate those, so plains hognose. Man, this is just so confusing with all like the species and stuff. And what I'm trying to say here is plains hognose or western hognose snakes look similar in a normal morph, or if you want something more elaborate, you can get things like albinos and condas. And anyway, they make a hissing sound that sounds like a rattle, so which is kind of cool, or kind of sounds like a rattle. And they do have an attitude, and they do kind of like cobra up, like they'll have like this kind of, the neck kind of goes like that, I guess. I don't know. And they are rear fang venomous, which is cool. So they don't strike in coil, or they don't strike, like they kind of strike like a venomous snake. They just kind of grab it and then like look at it like you're gonna die now, right? So like, get in my belly. Get in my belly! Anyway, you guys know if you watch the channel, I love hognose snakes. They're freaking awesome. Number 3, forest cobras. These are not good pets. These are, I think it's Africa's largest snake. Yeah, it is actually, right? This is like the most ridiculous thing I remembered from a Steve Irwin special in the 90s. They are Africa's largest snake and the true largest cobra species. Now, if you're thinking, isn't a king cobra bigger? Yes, it is, but they're not a true cobra. Man, this is getting so confusing with all the genuses. And anyway, a forest cobra is a big animal. They do get up to 7 feet sometimes, and they have a potent neurotoxin. This is a snake that's not going to balloon your hand and start kind of like eating away at this is going to kill you. This animal is going to kill you, and there have been reports as little as 60 to 90 minutes, these things from bite to you being dead. And that's including trying to get medical attention. So it's a bad day, it'll ruin your day and likely the rest of your month if you get bit by a forest cobra. Now with that said, they're amazing species, but instead of that, what you should keep as a pet is a false water cobra. Now they don't look super cobra-y. If there was a cobra club, I don't think they'd be cobra-y enough for the cobra club, but they do the same thing that hognoses do, is they kind of like do the thing with their neck or whatever I did earlier. They definitely do kind of look cobra-ish. Cobra-ishy? Anyway, these guys are cool, they have cobra in the name, and they're great pets. And again, just like the western hognose, they are rear fang venomous. So if they bite you, it's not going to be a medical emergency for most of us. I mean, people get allergic to bee stings and stuff, right? So if I get a bee sting, it's just an annoying day, but it's not going to kill me. If my mom gets stung by a bee, different thing. We rush her to the hospital because she's allergic. She has an EpiPen, that sort of thing, right? So it just depends on you. With that being said, avoiding the risk of being bit by one of these guys, they're amazing. They get pretty big, very similar size to a forest cobra, in fact. Now, these are a New World snake. New World just means North America, South America. Old World generally means across the Atlantic Ocean somewhere. So these most cobras, or all cobras I'm pretty sure, are Old World snakes, and false water cobras are New World snakes. You find these guys in South America. Some of the endearing factors of a false water cobra, or a falsie is what we're going to call them for the rest, because most people call them that, is they are much more docile. There's really no forest cobras you can just kind of like pet on the head, good boy, without worrying about dying. With a false water cobra, generally you can handle them, no problem whatsoever. They're slow, they are big, but they eat really well, and in general, falsies are amazing pets, and I would recommend them for most intermediate keepers if you want something that is falsie-ish. Anyway, that's enough. All right, number 2, we're going back to Africa for this one, BOOMSLANG. I think these are amazing, and I know all the African people are saying he's pronouncing it wrong, and you're probably right, but anyway, that's how we pronounce it over here. These are a kind of large but slender arboreal or semi-arboreal, depending on who you talk to, green snake. And now it gets more confusing. This is the most confusing video I ever did, because these are rear fang venomous too, but the difference is these will kill you. These guys can kill you. Now, I think it's only 10 people have ever died from a BOOMSLANG bite, But what you should do if you get bit by one of these is go to the hospital. You shouldn't make toast and journal like this guy did, because this guy died. This is a very famous scientist. The name always eludes me. I'll put it right here. And he got bit by one and didn't think that rear fang venomous snakes could kill you. He started bleeding from his orifices, and instead of going to see a doctor, he wrote about it and made toast. So anyway, he's dead now. So I recommend, instead of a BOOMSLANG, you should get a rough green snake. Now this is a stretch, because rough green snakes are a lot smaller, for sure, than a BOOMSLANG. But they are arboreal or semi-arboreal, depending. They're a North American species. This is one of the few snakes that I can go and find. I saw one a few months ago, actually, when I was going around this place here, which wasn't snowy. But anyway, I was seeing these all over the place when I was a kid. This is one of the snakes that I would see most often. I didn't realize that they make such great pets. Now, they are small. They're fragile. They eat things like insects, which is cool. I did a whole video about insect-eating snakes that you don't need to feed rodents to right here if you want to watch it. And I think that this is part of the endearing factors about rough green snakes or smooth green snakes. They're kind of the same in terms of the care, not the species, but if you want to get one or the other, they're kind of the same in terms of how you care for them. So yeah, they're not rear fang venomous. They're not venomous at all. If they bite you, you probably won't even notice it. And they're way smaller. But if you look at the head and the body, they do look very similar in my opinion. And actually smooth green snakes are probably closer because of the scalation. Rough green snakes have a keeled scale and smooth green snakes don't. Anyway, why am I getting so technical about stuff? It's a top 5 video. They're pretty docile. You can handle them pretty well. They eat well. It's insects, of course, like I said. So I think that these are way, way, way underrated. Amazing snakes, something that I would be open to getting in my own collection, just because I think that they are so cool, so amazing, so unique. Overall, I just love smooth and rough green snakes, and I think they make great pets, and definitely better than a BOOMSLANG. All right, number 1 venomous snake, and the I won't kill you version of it, black mambas. Now everyone knows what this is. A black mamba is always in the top 10 most venomous snakes in the world. If it bites you, it's going to deliver enough venom to kill an elephant. That's another reason that forest cobras are so deadly, is just the yield. They pump so much venom into you. And black mambas are the same. Now, I mean, they could dry bite you in the whole thing, but generally if you get bit by one, it's going to be to a hospital immediately or lights out. That's a wrap for you. Now, black mambas aren't actually black. They're called black mambas because when they open their mouth, it is very black. And they do that as a threat display. These are an animal that are big and definitely very, very smart. Of all the reptiles on the planet, black mambas might be the smartest. Well, king cobras are probably a bit smarter, but anyway, they're very smart. So if you want something that is going to be black, because most people think that black mambas are black, and when they see these snakes, they think they're black mambas, something that is very smart and very sizable, I suggest an indigo snake, Eastern Indigos, or anything in the dry mark-on species, because you could get a Cribo also, which is part of that same family that indigos are in, and they aren't totally black. So it might actually look kind of similar to a black mamba. The scalation kind of looks similar, and just the way their bodies look, and how slender, I think they look pretty similar. And dry mark-on, especially Eastern Indigos, although expensive, are beautiful and so smart. As far as non-venomous snakes goes, I think reticulated pythons might be the only thing close to how smart these things are. And although they're protected and hard to get and illegal in some places, they can be really great pets. And they're big. They are a colubrid from North America, but they are thick. I'm talking about some of them get like thicker than my little boy arm here. So they're not small, that's for sure. And they are black, but you can find, like I said, Cribos that are not totally black if you want something more authentic to the coloration. But the most important thing is if they bite you, they're not gonna kill you. That's an important thing to me. And who doesn't like an indigo snake? It's one of like the pinnacles, like one of the things that most keepers eventually have on their Mount Rushmore of favorite reptiles. Nobody's gonna tell you that these guys aren't amazing. They absolutely are. And this is it. Those are your 5 venomous snakes and versions that won't kill you. What do you think? Was this a stupid idea? Would you like to see more videos similar to this? Let me know in the comment section below. And as always, please, please, please hit like and subscribe. I don't want to seem like I'm begging, but I mean, it takes no time and it helps this channel immensely. And as always, a special thank you to the Patreon supporters. You guys are absolutely amazing. You guys get discounts on the merch, you get videos early, you guys get extra content, you know about the really cool clutch of eggs that we haven't talked about yet that finally dropped. So there's a bunch of different things. As little as $1 a month, you can be a Patreon supporter too. And I think I've rambled long enough, so after you're done hitting subscribe and like, that means that I'll see you on Thursday.